All right, so it is Wednesday, May 14th, and I'm going to provide an overview regarding, from a fundamental and technical perspective, why I am invested in XRP as a portion of my overall crypto portfolio. So I'm first going to provide a background on myself just to provide some helpful context in relation to the information that I'm going to provide, and that way you can discern for yourself the degree to which you would like to use this information in formulating your own opinion. I would encourage you, however, and I always encourage anyone that I speak to, um, that you need to do your own homework. You need to do your own due diligence. You can't rely on other individuals to do that for you. But if you find this useful, what I would encourage you to do is to just simply use it as a data point, put it in your toolkit, and move forward. So, a little bit of background on myself first, my professional background. I am a fellow of the Society of Actuaries. I work within the life insurance field. I've been an actuary for many years. And if you're not familiar with what that field is, it's very technically based, heavy in mathematics, very analytical, critical thinking skills, collaboration with other multiple business areas. Requires thinking outside the box, and so it's very natural, kind of looking at what I do from a career perspective, that it totally makes sense that I found Bitcoin and fell in love with it once I began researching it and the crypto space in general. So that's my professional background. From a trading perspective, I signed up in 2016 with Clay Trader University, so shout out to Clay. I felt he did a phenomenal job. I'm very sensitive to numbers that I use based on the fact that I am an actuary, so when I say a number, you can trust the value that I'm presenting to you. I've spent thousands of hours going through his training videos and paper trading and doing real life trading, and I've made so many mistakes along the way and just learned so much, and I feel like it's benefited me to get to the point in time at which I am today. So I do not consider myself an expert trader, but I do consider myself to be very proficient at reading charts and being solid at this point on opening up good longer term swing positions based on being able to read charts from a technical perspective. Crypto background. So my crypto background, I began researching and learning about cryptocurrencies back in 2017. Um, Kind of as indicated, my first love was Bitcoin. I mean, I am the sort of person who, when I find something that I enjoy, and many who know me very well can attest to this, I tend to engross myself in it. And so, cryptocurrencies, and in particular at that point, Bitcoin, was just something that just fascinated me. And how could it not? I I love mathematics, so and the idea that there could be a form of there could be an asset or a form of currency or a value that's based on code and algorithms and mathematics. I mean, I loved the idea as soon as I got involved. So I sort of went headfirst in and just spent tons and tons and tons of time. And so as it relates to Bitcoin and XRP, I mean, in both, I've spent hundreds, probably thousands, I would say thousands of hours at this point, researching fundamentals on it, doing stock charts as well. So what I'm going to present now is just a rationale from both a fundamental perspective and a technical perspective on why I am invested in XRP. I'd loved the idea of doing this video because XRP gets so much hate out there. So allow me to present some factual information, and you can formulate your own opinion. So from a fundamental perspective, it's been the number 2 or 3 crypto for a very long period of time. So it's very well established within the market. So that leads me feeling confident that it will continue to remain a predominant player in the space. It's also backed by a company, Ripple, which has many strong ties to many financial institutions globally. Ripple is, and this kind of ties into I'll probably just hit on 2 and 3 at the same time with the fundamental use case. Ripple has a lot of ties to many companies that are publicly known. There are some private partnerships or some partnerships in the works that they can't speak to, and they've said this much. My own point of view on this is that there needs to be some regulatory certainty. And I think once we get the regulatory certainty, there's going to be some really big players out there, partnerships with Ripple. When I say partnerships with Ripple, I mean partnerships with Ripple and using XRP, because they're two different things. So I could certainly see some announcements, whether it's the IMF, whether it's stealing some of Swift's business, whether it's partnering with Bank of America, whether it's a bank who already has ties to Ripple like Santander, formally announcing it's using XRP. This ties into three. They just have such a huge fundamental use case. I mean, how frustrating is it to send money? I mean, even within the United States, it's frustrating. But cross-border transactions, all the intermediaries, everybody wants to dip their hand in and put all these expenses within these transactions, and it just takes so long. And I mean, for this day and age, it's ridiculous. So I think they're hitting a multi-trillion-dollar market with these Nostro Vostro accounts and looking to expedite the speed at which payments can go cross-border, as well as cut down on the cost. Now, that's the main fundamental use case that that they have. There's other ones that people could quote, like micropayments. So there's other use cases with XRP, but I'm just focusing on the largest one here. In my opinion, based on what I've researched, I feel like they have the greatest potential, that this crypto asset XRP has the greatest potential from a use case perspective. They also, without question, have the most traction at this point, in my opinion. The only other crypto that I feel someone could make an argument for that has as large a use case or larger would be smart contracts via Ethereum, and I could certainly see that as well. And then the last fundamental reason would just be all the emotions. You know, most people in this market are not going to be successful. You have to be able to parse emotions and facts and almost be robotic about things. And quite frankly, there are people who consider themselves invested in the market. They're not invested. These are people who bought something on a whim, bought something because someone else said it, bought something because they have hopes and dreams of being a millionaire, and it's just ridiculous. It's like anything in life. You have to do your own homework and put in the time and be persistent with things and work hard, and that's going to get you far places in life if you work hard and you're patient with things and you're persistent and you're very dedicated. And you see all these people on Twitter with just the emotions just right now are just so high, and the hatred and the frustration. And for someone like myself who's done their due diligence, it just leaves me feeling extremely confident that we're at this capitulation point, and my money is well invested here. So those are all the fundamental reasons. Now, from a technical perspective, and by the way, if you would like to follow me from a technical perspective on TradingView, my screen name is MiniSham37. I have quite a few charts out there, all crypto related, except for I have a few out there, I think, on the Dow Jones Industrial Average as well. And I am on Twitter. This is my Twitter handle. I am FSA Sean. I am at FSA Sean. And this display bothers me. I don't know why that's... There we go. So I'm at FSA Sean. So from a technical perspective, the first thing that leaves me feeling very confident in my investment is the price point at which I have scaled into this investment. I have established all of my positions at price points that represent a 90 to 96% correction from all-time highs. So I'm in at very low price points, so I feel great about where my average price point is. The second technical reason that I feel bullish is because if you look at the current price, which is around 20 cents, and you look at that in relation to its all-time high, it's extremely low, and it's much lower than many of the other altcoins who have moved up. And so if you have a thesis that XRP is going to meet and exceed its all-time high, so if you've done your research and you say, yeah, this coin's going to go a lot higher, well, you're getting it at price levels here that are much lower relative to other projects. So that leaves me feeling very bullish. The third reason is there's a fractal that's playing out in the USD pairing. Let me quick pull this chart up. This is a 2-month chart. You're not going to see the fractal as well here, but if you pull this up on a more granular level and look at the intricacies of the price patterns that are playing out within here, and you compare them to here, maybe you look at a 3-day chart or a 5-day chart or a 1-week chart, you can see much of the price patterns that are playing out here too, that led to this massive expansion. So that's what I see playing out within the USD pairing price. You can see also that there's massive accumulation that's been taking place over the past couple months. So that leaves me feeling very bullish. The price relativity to Bitcoin is a very big thing for me personally. I don't see a lot of people talking about this, or as many people that talk about. I see more people talk about the USD pairing than I see them talk about the price relativity. The price relativity for me is how I plan to scale out of my investment, and another thing that leaves me feeling very bullish. So let's look at the BTC pairing. One of the similarities, or one of the losing my words here, train of thought. One of the similarities I like to think of when I think of the XRP BTC pairing is I like to think of the silver to gold ratio. Now, a lot of people are bullish on gold and a lot of people are bullish on silver. And the reason that many people are more bullish on silver in the medium term in the midterm here is because the silver to gold price ratio is at historical lows. And what that means is, as the price of gold appreciates in value, if we have a hypothesis that the price of silver will catch up to the price, its historical price relativity to gold, and at least catch up to its mean value, then what we can expect is a price appreciation in silver that exceeds that of gold, right? So if the price of silver over the price of gold is real low, that price point needs to at some point catch up to its historical, at least to its historical mean point. So if we believe that's true and we're patient and we're invested in silver, then what that means is eventually, as gold goes up in value, silver is going to go up at a higher rate such that its price relativity catches up to it. And the same thing's going to happen to XRP and BTC. We are at very low valuations. Look at where we're at right now. This is where we're at. And look at how high price valuations have been up here. Even back here we were higher. We are at a .quadruple02. And we can see at the height of the last bull market back here in May of 2017, we're at a .00024. So that's more than a tenfold increase from where we're at. So what I'm saying is, while I fully expect Bitcoin to appreciate in value, at some point this price relativity needs to at least get to its mean somewhere up here, and so we can expect an acceleration in price of XRP in relation to Bitcoin. The price appreciation will be higher in XRP than Bitcoin. That's what I see happening in the midterm here. The other thing that I see playing out similar to the XRP USD pairing, there's a fractal, which I think you can see pretty well on this weekly chart. We came up here, corrected, came up here, entered a falling wedge. Look at this. I mean, this is just the way this is playing out is phenomenal. We came up here, corrected, came up here, falling wedge. Now, what I do expect is similar to what happened here. We appreciated to a price relativity that was higher back here than back here. I do expect that during the next bull run, we will see an XRP BTC ratio that results in a ratio that is higher than what we saw last time, but not one that will result in the market cap flipping Bitcoin. I don't see a flippening happening this bull cycle. Anything's possible, and I think eventually a cryptocurrency whose market cap exceeds Bitcoin is completely feasible. It's completely possible, but I don't see that happening. I'm not counting on that. I'm not basing my investment thesis based on that. I'm not planning my exit strategy based on that. But I totally see that happening. I see something higher than prior valuations. And then let's get back here. Looks like, so that's all for technicals. This exit philosophy and strategy, that's private. That's something I'm going to record for myself. I'm going to look at how much I've invested and how I plan to exit, and what I plan to exit into, whether it's a crypto or cash. And that's something private that I'd like to record for myself to look back on and grade myself after the next bull run. The other thing I should hit on before I get to this last thing, which is the wave 3 analysis, is the other thing I really want to hit on here is that I'm not a maximalist. I think it's frustrating, and it makes absolutely no sense to me why people are tied to a single project like Bitcoin or XRP, and it's the only coin that they're just in love with, and they see no other project, and there's nothing better than, there are use cases for different projects out there. That's how I see it. And I think if you have a frame of mind that is not tied to a single project but holistically looks at the market and asks the question, which of these projects has the best potential and use case, and you're open-minded, you're setting yourself up in the best position that you could be. I think it's very close-minded for people who are maximalists, and it's very unfortunate, but I am not a maximalist. I love Bitcoin and I love XRP, and I know based on what I've seen on Twitter, there are fewer of us out there in the space, but that's how I feel. So the last thing we're going to look at is this wave 3 analysis. So in March of 2017, and by the way, the waves refer to Elliott wave, so if you're not familiar, you'll have to do a little bit of homework on that. But we entered a 5-way Elliott wave, our last bull market. So what I'm looking at here is I'm saying in March of 17, XRP entered its first wave 1. I corrected to wave 2, and then it hit a high in wave 3 in May of 17. The wave 3 count for XRP in May 2017 resulted in a price of 45 cents. And that's where we saw that XRP BTC ratio at 0.000243 that we were looking at earlier. It was back here. Remember we saw here it hit the 0.000243. XRP was at 45 cents at that time. So where was Bitcoin? That's the question I asked myself. Well, at that time, Bitcoin had broken its prior all-time high of 1,150, and it was priced at 1,840. Now that represented a 60% price above its prior all-time high. So what we're saying is the last cycle, during the first alt season, when XRP had topped out in its wave 3 of 45 cents, in that 0.000243, we're asking the question, well, where was Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin was 60% above its prior all-time high. So my assumption here is that we will see similar movement between BTC and XRP, and we'll see this happen sometime in 2020, 2021. So with my assumption here, under my assumption, what we would be seeing is Bitcoin hit 31,400. This would represent a price of 60% past its prior all-time high. And when Bitcoin hits that price level of 31,400, XRP, similarly to last time, will have topped out in its wave 3 at $7.60. Here's the calculation to how I got $7.60. Again, same ratio, same Bitcoin price point, and I'm saying $7.60. Now, as you recall, one of the things I pointed out when we looked at this XRP BTC ratio is that I see an XRP BTC ratio higher this time around. Just like we saw in the last cycle, it reached a ratio high, higher than the last cycle. I see the same thing playing out here. So I looked at fib extensions. If you don't know what they are, and I'm not going to pull them up, you'll have to look into it. But I looked at fib extensions, and based on that fib extension analysis, I said, I think it's very feasible to see XRP hit a 2.618 fib extension. That would put the price, the top, at $9.37. I also think that's extremely reasonable because it gets us to a ratio of 0.0003. Now that's a ratio that's higher than what we saw up here, And it's a ratio that does not result in the market cap exceeding Bitcoin, because I do not see that happening this cycle. So my conclusion is that the XRP Wave 3 target will be somewhere around $7 to $9, which I think is very reasonable. And, you know, beyond historical ratios, the other thing I'm pointing out here is that another point of validation regarding this price movement is that, the last market cycle we saw XRP hit a Wave 3 top about 122x move up from its low. And this target range represents more of a 71 to 92x move up to a top. And I'm saying that's very reasonable because the market cap now for XRP is higher than it was back in 17. And we should expect, when there's a lower market cap and there's lower liquidity, that it's easier for the price to move up and shoot up at higher moves than we would see in larger caps, right? This is larger market caps. This is why we saw during the last alt seasons, we saw altcoins move up at, some of these small altcoins moved up an insane amount in relation to Bitcoin. Well, they moved up an insane amount in general, but they moved up at higher, they had higher moves up relative to Bitcoin because the market caps were so low. So I'm saying, okay, well, the market cap is higher for XRP, so it would make sense that while we'll still see a huge increase in value, because the market in general is very immature and small, we're going to see a smaller move up than we saw last time. I think that's very logical and intuitive. So the last point here, this is not my ultimate Wave 5 target. I say 2021 to 2023, but I think it's more like 2022 to 2023. I think the ultimate Wave 5 target, which I'll refine over time as things play out here. I mean, we could see things as high as prices in XRP as high as $20, $30, $40, $50, even $50. I mean, it really just depends. It's a byproduct of how high the overall crypto market goes. Again, I'm not delusional. I don't look at things in a silo environment, meaning I don't just look at XRP and say, well, we're going, to such and such price points. I mean, I need to kind of consider I think it's rational to consider the overall crypto space and how that's playing out, and also everything sort of runs parallel to Bitcoin at this point. So you have to consider the movement in Bitcoin as well. So I'll kind of refine that target over time. But in the midterm here, this is what I'm targeting. I am targeting a Wave 3 target somewhere around the $7 to $9 mark. I think that's very, very reasonable. And again, this target for me personally will be refined based on the price movements we see once we start to really break out. This is how I see the market right now. But ultimately, the way I plan to scale out, which I'm not including in this video, I don't think anyone should, under any circumstance, disclose how much money they have invested or allocation percentages. And I'm not going to disclose my sell strategy, but I can at least disclose the fact that the main thing I'm relying on is this relativity. I'm not relying so much on the USD price points. I'm relying more on the relativity to Bitcoin and scaling out in that manner. So best of luck to all.